Hi everyone, it's Nick Pavlov. Welcome to Synthesis YouTube channel. In this video, we will continue learning about Spark notebooks, and we will continue where we left off in our previous video. So I'm here in my Fabric workspace, and you can see that I created a new lakehouse called Spark Lakehouse. I didn't want to mess up my previous data right in other lakehouses, so that's why I created a new one. So let's go to this lakehouse, and here in the files section, in the tables, I don't have any tables right now. And in the files section, I created a new folder, which is called Sample Product Sales. Let me drag this a little bit to my right. And in this folder, I have 3 sample CSV files, sales data of running shoes from 2020, 21, and 22, right? It's a simple table. You can see that I have order name, date, customer name, item, and unit price. Using these sample files, I wanted to show you how to do some basic transformation, processing, and analysis using notebooks. So first thing what we're going to do from the lakehouse, right, we need to create or open a notebook. What we can do is we can find the tab Open a Notebook, and then we can create a new one. Or you can open an existing one, right? So in my case, I would like to start from the very beginning, so I will click New Notebook. All right, let me quickly give a name to my notebook, sample notebook number 2. And here in my Lakehouse Explorer, I can see all of my files. So first thing what I'm going to do, I will read one of my files. I will right click on Sales 2020 and then load data and then read it using Spark. I will collapse this pane a little bit so I can have more space in here. And let's run this code. The Spark session will get initialized and deployed. So here's my table. Let's take a look at my file quickly here. I have order name, date, customer name, item, and quantity and price, right? Let me actually drag these columns a little bit closer, so I can see my entire table without having to scroll. All right, let's see how many rows I have in this file. To do that, you can use the count function. So let's scroll down here and add a new block of code. We're going to use the row count function, and this is going to give us a count of rows of this file. So in here, for Sales 2020, I have 10,000 rows, 10,115 to be exact. Now, using PySpark, what you can do, you can read all of the 3 files together. Now, in here, I've shown you how to do it separately, right? So we are only reading the Sales 2020 file, so that's why we're saying 10,000 rows. But if you want to, you can actually read all of the files in your folder. And to do that, you can use the following code. Let's actually create a new block again, and then paste it right here. Let me explain that to you. After the load function, right in here, instead of the name of the file, you see we have a wildcard asterisk in here. So this means that Spark is going to read all of the files that are in that folder. Let's read the code. And now here's my data. And to prove that we have all 3 files in there, let's actually copy this and see how many rows we have now. We should have 30,000. And now we have 30,000 rows because we have now appended all of the 3 files together. All right, let's move on. One important thing is when you're reading tables and files, often your data types can be different from what you want to have. If some of your files have different data types, then you will not be able to read all of them. In fact, you will only read the first file from the list. To avoid that, it is best to set up your own schema. This way, Spark will know exactly how to interpret the data that you have in your files. So let's do this. Let's create a new block of code, and I will paste this code in here. So what I'm basically doing, right, I am introducing a new schema to these files, and these are going to be the names of my columns, followed by the data type. So string for order name, date for date, again, string for customer, integer for quantity, etc., right? And then in the bottom part right here, I'm also telling that I have headers. Now with this code, when you read your CSV files, you can use this particular schema to make sure that the data frame has the correct data types for each column. This code will load all CSV files matching the pattern from the sample product sales folder with the defined schema. The option here, header and true, will tell Spark that first row of the CSV files will have the column names, so it will not consider the first row as data. All right, let's go ahead and run the code. Let's actually do display because we're not seeing our changes. So if I do display and then run the code again, then we will see our modified data. And pay attention to the order date column right here. I don't have dates anymore, they all become null values. I actually learned that recently myself. So turns out when using date type function, Spark will expect the date format to be year, month, and date by default. So if your date format is different, then you will need to set the option date format to match your specific format when reading your data. That way, Spark will understand that this is your date format. And then if I rerun this code again, now I will have this fixed. So now I have all of my 3 files appended together. I have all the correct schema and columns. I have the right date. And now what I want to do some analysis. So from this data, I would like to know how much money each person spent. And I would like to see the top 10 customers who spend the most on these running shoes. So in other words, I want to see 2 columns, customer name and sum of unit price. Let me drag these columns to the left a little bit so I can see all of my columns. So what I want to do, right, I want to see 2 columns. I want to see customer name, and I would like to see the sum of unit price. Then I want to group the data by customer name and sort it descending. And finally, I would like to see only the top 10 rows. So I only want to see the top 10 customers who spend the most amount of money. Most of you probably know how to do this in SQL. So let's try to do this in PySpark now. I will scroll down here and create a new cell. Let me paste my code right in here. And let's quickly talk about this code. So what I am doing, right, is I'm grouping the customer name and then I'm aggregating the unit price, aliasing it as a total unit price, and then I'm sorting and descending, and I want to see the top 10 customers. And let's do display my data frame. All right, let's run the code. And here's what I have. So in this little table, right, I can see top 10 customers who spend the most on running shoes or whatever my data shows. So now what you can do, right, you can go ahead and transform this file into a table. And this table is going to be sitting in your Lakehouse in here. And you can go ahead and do any kinds of modifications and report building using this data. All right, so hopefully now you have a basic understanding of how to use a Spark notebook on Microsoft Fabric. This was a simple demo showing how to work with files in the Lakehouse using Apache Spark. Apache Spark is a powerful tool that can be used for transformation and processing of large data sets. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next video. Until then, have a good one.